After his critically acclaimed debut solo album, Noel Gallagher decided he was going to produce his next record himself, and on 2nd of March 2015, Noel Gallagher released probably his most experimental album to date, Chasing Yesterday. It's a strange title because it's not about going back to the old style. It actually is an ambitious step forward. People usually think about the next Noel Gallagher album, Who Built the Moon, as the experimental Noel Gallagher album, but this for me is where it began. Yes, there's the traditional Noel Gallagher sound and some songs that aren't quite that out there, but there is some experimental stuff on this and some real groove and some real new sounds for Noel Gallagher, which I guess he was trying out as producer himself, because this is just a creative album and it's a really good album.
The main difference between having a producer and not having a producer is this. I'm gonna break it down for you. When you go into the studio and you record a backing track, and there'll be the bass drums and maybe one guitar. With a producer, you all sit there staring at the speakers, and you're sitting behind the producer on a couch, and he's kind of sitting there. You play the track, and he kind of turns around in his chair, and he'll say, "It's good, it's good." But that bit on the 84th bar, and then we can tighten that little bit up, and maybe we should do another take and do that, and then you kind of sit there and talk about it for 4 days. When I'm producing a record, this is what happens. You do the same backing track. Yeah. I sit there and listen to it, and I think, well, I'm a fucking genius. Because clearly, this is one of the greatest moments in rock. And I just wish there would be other people here to share it with me. But alas, I've decided to plough a lonely road.
The album opens with Riverman, which is one of Noel's oddest songs and strangely structured songs, but also one of his most interesting. There's sax, there's trumpets, it's very hypnotic, it has randomly placed acoustic guitar solos, it's a trippy psychedelic song, and it's a very bizarre but very ambitious way to open an album. Noel Gallagher clearly wanted to make a statement with the opening track, and he did. Riverman is a very, very good song in my opinion, and although it wasn't a big rock, crazy sound to open an album to get people invested, it was a statement of intent of saying, I'm going to try something different here. I'm producing. I do what I want. Heat of the Moment is the second track, and it was the first single, and I think it's one of Noel's greatest singles. Moody, it's groovy, it's got a really catchy chorus. There's not much you can say other than Heat of the Moment. It's just a quality song, very well written. It's mid-tempo, it's not fast, but it's got a real vibe to it. It's got a real style and a real groove, and Noel's voice sounds great, and he's trying out different melodies even when he's trying to be catchy. Girl with the X-Ray Eyes is a song that reminds me of something, and I don't know what it is, but it's probably something Noel ripped off, because he's Noel Gallagher. It's a song that reminds me of something, and I really can't place it, but it's another really good song. Again, it's very experimental. There's almost a Pink Floyd-esque feel to this. It's very out there. And again, Noel Gallagher saying, I'm producing this. I don't give a damn.
All the producer mates I know, I'm just like, you've been fucking blagging it for years, because clearly I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. But listen to this.
Lock All the Doors is the next track, and it starts off with the riff from Morning Glory. Like, actually, it's the Morning Glory riff. It's exactly it. You cheeky fucker, Noel. So on this track, Noel remembers he's a rock star and steps away from the experimental stuff and makes a real stadium anthem which has a joyous feel. Brings back that joyous feel of Oasis fist-pumping tracks. You love it. You love listening to it. It's got a real escapist vibe, really happy and joyous feel to the song. It's fast paced, and Noel proves he can still rock out. Dying of the Light is a real melancholy song, and it conjures up imagery for me. It's almost like a filmic, cinematic type song. I was told these streets were paved with gold and there'd be no time for getting old when we were young is a wonderful Noel Gallagher lyric. Noel Gallagher's great at writing those little lines that stick with you and really resonate on a personal level, and he does it with this song. It's still an odd atmospheric track, but it is a very down-to-earth one because it's talking about relatable subjects. The Right Stuff has some female vocals in the background, and again, Noel is just seeing what he can do here, and he makes a quality track with this. I absolutely love it. It's a relaxing, romantic, but very interesting song, and I feel like this was the track on the album which was probably most a preview of what was coming on Who Built the Moon. But it just, again, just so much to it, so much intrigue to it, and I feel like people have slept on this album. You know, I feel like it's looked as the transition between the first album and Who Built the Moon, but there's some really quality experimentation on here, some great melodies, and Noel Gallagher's very ambitious on this. And running throughout this album, there's these brilliant bass lines. I mean, this really is a groovy album. It's a vibing out album. It's an album that you can just listen to the bass and you end up doing this too. This is what you do with this album. Take it away, Alan. While the song remains the same, it starts off and it conjures up this mystical feeling, kind of sounds like the start to a fantasy children's movie. This track reminds me eventually, when it gets going, of Falling Down from Dig Out Your Soul. Again, it has that unique element that Falling Down had, where it feels like Noel Gallagher's kind of calling out from another reality or another planet. His voice sounds like it's hurtling through space, and I love that vibe. And yeah, another good song. The Mexican, maybe the most underrated song Noel Gallagher has ever written. Absolutely love this. It's got an 80s vibe. It reminds me of like Noel Gallagher at this point. He was citing Blondie a lot. He cites Blondie a lot for influence on Who Built the Moon. This reminds me of Blondie. It's really, you know, it's got some female vocals on it as well, so it just reminds me of Blondie. It's got that type of melody. It's got that 80s vibe. It's kind of going all out. And it's really cool and groovy and rock and roll. I was only dreaming of a revolution, waiting for the right time, watching the clock. I love that as a rock and roll lyric. Cool vibe to it and an irresistible bass line, as I said. It's just so groovy. You Know We Can't Go Back is a wonderful Noel Gallagher track, and it conjures up the old Oasis feelings. There are a few tracks which do resemble the title, Chasing Yesterday. As I said, there is a nostalgic, reminiscing feel, and this is probably one of the most, because it's talking about the subjects Noel used to at the start of Oasis. This is about a boy and a girl running away, and that escapism, that sense of longing and positivity and friendship is resonated through this song, which is what Oasis kind of started from, really down to earth subjects. Noel sounds great. There's a youthful spirit and energy running throughout the track. It's just got a great happy vibe and a really simple melody, but fans love this at Noel Gallagher shows. It's an underrated Noel Gallagher song. Ballad of the Mighty Eye is the final track, and there are some songs that Noel Gallagher, like Bono, like Chris Martin, like Mick Jagger, like David Bowie, all these great songwriters, there are certain songs they will write and it will just click and it will just stand in their, no matter where it comes in the discography, it will stand tall amongst the classics, and Ballad of the Mighty Eye for me does that. It's moody, it's dramatic, it's epic, it's got a lot of tension, a moving forward feeling to it. It kind of reminds me in places with What a Life on the first album, because it's got those pianos and the very deliberate pace of the instruments and the drums, and the video is even Noel Gallagher walking forward, so it has that just walking forward deliberate pace to it, which What a Life had. It might be one of Noel Gallagher's best vocal performances. He conjures up so much imagery with this, and he's got a magical delivery, and he goes places vocally. He will change vocal tempo and vocal range, and he'll just experiment with his vocals on here, and it is one of his best vocal performances. He really takes you on a journey with his voice.
Holding out to the end of the world, to wait outside your window. In the heat of the rain, I'll call your name. Will you just pass me by? Wherever you run, I'll be on your tail. Wherever you hide behind your veil, I'll find you. Yes, I will find you. 'Cause I gotta be the man who walks the edge of love.
It's a really unique and creative song, and I really do feel like people slept on this album because I just don't hear it talked about. And the Ballad of the Mighty Eye is one of the best songs in rock in the last 25 years. It has to be. I absolutely love it. If you don't listen to anything else on this album, listen to Ballad of the Mighty Eye. It's wonderful. So this album, you know what? I absolutely adore the first Noel Gallagher album. Noel Gallagher's High Flying Bird, self-titled. I think that is a masterpiece, a modern masterpiece. I love it. I think it's Noel properly displaying his incredible capabilities with melody. This album, though, is Noel Gallagher kind of doing what he did with Standing on the Shoulders of Giants in Oasis and just throwing out the rule book. There is elements of him in there, but he's very creative on this. And the weird thing is, Noel's done interviews saying that, you know, Who Built the Moon was the first time he was ever really creative. Like, I don't understand how he can say that about himself, because this is nothing like his first album. And I don't know how people do look at Oasis and look at Noel Gallagher. They always say everything sounds the same. I'm like, I just think you're not invested. Maybe it sounds the same to you, I don't know. But maybe you don't look into it the same way I do. There's so much different on this album to the first album, to Oasis. There's fundamentals that he follows, there's reoccurring themes and styles that he follows, but he doesn't just stick to them. And that's why he's one of the greatest songwriters alive today. It's just because he actually goes outside the box, even if he doesn't realise that he is, I guess. And Noel Gallagher's production on this is really, really good. Maybe it doesn't sound as great as the last one, which was produced by someone else, or the Oasis albums. It doesn't sound as good as them, but it's a proficient production job by Noel. You hear all the vibes, you hear all the instruments, you have that style conjured up, you have the moods conjured up. He does well with his voice for sure. He makes himself sound like $1 million. So it's a good production job. And you know, as a debut album, first time he's ever producing, you got to tip your hat to him. I absolutely love Chasing Yesterday. I don't know if I prefer it to the first one. I think I just put the Noel Gallagher studio albums first two on equal levels because they're just different, but they're both incredible levels of quality. With albums like this, why would you need Oasis back? I absolutely love it. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about Who Built the Moon in my next review, and then I'm going to be reviewing Liam Gallagher's debut album, As You Were, and then I will also review Noel Gallagher's EPs, because he's done some quality EPs in recent years. So my journey with the Gallagher boys, it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight just yet. Please subscribe to this channel, please like the video if you're a music obsessive, and I'll be back next time with my review of Who Built the Moon. See you then.